Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Pagani Design PD-1733. This watch is available from Trendy Men's Watch Store on AliExpress for €144. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch comes in the blue EU version of the Pagani Design watch box, as you can see. Usually they come in black watch boxes when they're shipped from China, but the EU versions, which are shipped from the EU warehouse, come in these blue boxes. The watch is protected by this foam panel, which one removes, and the watch sits on a piece of foam inside a foam cutout panel in the base, as one would expect. So although basic, it does suffice in protecting the watch in shipping, and I think it's perfectly acceptable to use this basic style of cardboard watch box, bearing in mind it's a low tier price point piece at only €144. With the watch, one gets this basic owner's instruction manual, clear concise diagrams. The instructions are in English, and it details the operation of the movement used, which is the Seiko NH35A automatic. This is the plastic guarantee card that comes with the watch. As usual, the reverse isn't filled in, however, the watch is covered by the usual 12-month international guarantee. One also gets this nylon NATO strap. So the nylon fabric is like ballistic nylon. It's a thick nylon weave, but however, it's going to become very soft and supple when it's broken in. Stainless steel hardware throughout, as you can see, brushed satin finish to the two keepers, which are stitched either side so they can't slide out of position. Nice heavy gauge of 316L grade stainless steel to the buckle and tang. Good attention to detail because we've got Pagani Design laser etched and the brand emblem on the buckle, and also on the third keeper we've got Pagani Design laser etched as well. So very good attention to detail, no sharp edges, no burrs. The quality of the hardware finishing is very good. The quality of the weave to the nylon, which is like ballistic nylon, is also very good. It's very well stitched throughout, and also there are plenty of holes in the strap to allow for fine-tuning the length. This will fit up to an 8-inch wrist, so it's plenty long, and I really like it. So I think it's a good quality NATO strap and a credible alternative to the oyster-style bracelet that comes on the piece. This is the 1.6mm flat-bladed screwdriver. One also gets this plastic tag, and lastly, one also gets this branded microfiber polishing cloth. I always think it's a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth, irrespective of the price point of a piece. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Pagani Design PD-1733. The watch is clearly an homage to the Rolex Milgauss, a watch I have previously reviewed, so if you haven't seen my Rolex Milgauss review, please feel free to check it out. Very similar proportions to the Milgauss. We have a 40mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 49mm, a thickness of 11.7mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The oyster-style bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 16mm at the flip-lock clasp. The flip-lock clasp is signed to a high standard, engraved with Pagani Design. No sharp edges, no burrs, the corners aren't sharp. So the quality control, the finishing to this clasp is definitely of a higher standard than other flip-lock clasps which are the same, such as the 1661, 1662 and 1644 respectively. They've definitely tightened up the tolerances, the quality control, builds quality and the finishing. Beautiful luster to the brushed satin finishing to the top side and underside, which contrasts with the flawless mirror polishing to the flanks. I'll show you the interior. Solid milled 316L grade stainless steel. Matte blasted effect to the centre section, which contrasts with the mirror polished top side, underside and flanks. As you can see, the interior to the clasp is finished to a very high standard. They've also tightened up the tolerances of the hinge pins. There's less play in this 1733 flip lock versus the 1661, for example. 5mm EasyLink style extension, which allows for 5mm of on-the-fly adjustment. Again, they have tightened up the tolerances and the quality control of the EasyLink style extension. This one feels tighter. One has to give it a good firm push to deploy it, and also a good firm push to click it back into the body, but I actually like that. I prefer having an EasyLink style extension which is slightly too tight rather than too loose, because it's not going to deploy accidentally. So this is definitely better quality than the EasyLink extension which is used on the 1644, for example, their Daytona Homage. It feels tighter, less play in it, and I like to see that they've tightened up the tolerances. It's a good snug fit to the interior of the body of the clasp. The The clasp itself snaps shut with a nice positive click, and the flip lock also has a nice positive secondary click, and I really like the execution of it. They are gradually improving the quality control on their flip lock clasp, which is very good. So with regards to the rest of the specification, we have a flat sapphire crystal. Now, like the Milgauss, which this is an homage to, this is green tinted sapphire crystal. Now, the other thing I really like about it is it has clear AR coating on the underside, and as I tilt the piece at an oblique angle, you can see the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare, and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished applied indices and the silver baton hands, which are also mirror polished to a very high standard. The contrasting lightning bolts second hand contrasts very well with the blue sunburst dial, and due to the green tint of the sapphire crystal, the blue sunburst dial actually has a turquoise sunburst look to it, but it is actually blue tint. It is actually a blue sunburst dial, but I love the turquoise tone to it. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So, notable improvement, the introduction of using clear AR coating. They've also introduced clear AR coating on the 1692 Air King and Explorer homages, which I previously reviewed. This 1733 uses the same case as the 1692 Air King and Explorer, but I'll show you a curiosity about it. The 1692 Explorer and Air King homages that I previously reviewed have 200 metres of water resistance, but this 1733 Milgauss homage only has 100 metres. If you look closely at the case back, you can see it has 100 metres engraved. On the 1692 it has 200 metres. Now, I've measured the dimensions, I've measured the thickness of the case back, and the case back is identical. The other thing is, the thickness of the flat sapphire crystal is identical to the 1692. So every aspect of this case, the crystal, the head of the piece, and also the case back are identical in dimensions. So there's no reason why this 1733 couldn't provide 200 metres of hermetic seal. So it's a curiosity of the 1733. I don't know why they've rated it as 100 metres versus the 1692, which has 200 metres, something to consider. But with regards to the case back, I really like this shield. Now, I think Pagani Design should introduce this shield case back to all their models. It's very aesthetically pleasing. The engraving is done to a high standard, and we've got CNC concentric lathe tool machining to the exterior of it. The centre section has a nice mirror polished embossed Pagani Design emblem, as you can see. Very well executed and also very low profile. The milled slots in the circumference are very well finished, no sharp edges, no burrs, and this is one of the best Pagani Design casebacks I've seen. I actually prefer it to other casebacks they're using which have designs engraved and embossed. I think the shield casebacks are the best looking, but they really should have rated this to 200 metres as per the 1692. The solid end links are a good tight fit to the case, well finished, and the concentric brush satin finishing to the underside to the head of the piece is also done to a high standard, no sharp edges to the underside to the flanks. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet, I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and as you can see it fits my 8-inch wrist to perfection without any sizing. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I like to size my bracelets loose, so that one can always fit an index finger underneath the bracelet and clasp at all times. This is the correct sizing method because it allows for wrist expansion in warmer weather or when one is active. So, as you can see, this would actually fit up to an 8.5-inch wrist with all the links in the bracelet. With regards to the proportions, it is very close to perfection. 40mm head of the piece is very well balanced by the 20mm tapering down to 16mm oyster style bracelet. So the proportions of the bracelet and the head of the piece are correct. The lug-to-lug measurement is slightly long at 49mm. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 48mm to be the sweet spot. That is the perfect lug-to-lug measurement. At 49mm lug-to-lug, it is 1mm longer than perfection, but 49 is appropriate for all wrist sizes. So this will fit you very well if you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist or a 7 to 8-inch wrist respectively. One thing I really like about this piece is it is incredibly low profile for an NH35A powered watch. It's only 11.7mm, and Pagani Design deserve full credit for this because usually NH35A powered watches are circa 13mm. Anything below 12mm is very good, 11.7 is well below 12, And the benefit of it being so slender and thin is that it will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, and that makes this an ideal daily wear piece. So 11.7 by 49 is very good proportions, and I really like the 40mm head of the piece. The 1692 case, which this 1733 uses, is one of the greatest Pagani design cases made. They have got the proportions of it done to perfection. I really like it. So as you can see, the clear AL coating on the underside of the green tinted sapphire crystal does a very good job, and this is something I really like about it. The clear AL coating on the 1692 and also this 1733 really is a notable enhancement. The silver baton hands are clearly legible, and I like the perfect symmetry of the Milgauss style layout and the slightly larger rectangle indices at 9, 6 and 3. It really has outstanding legibility. The contrasting lightning bolt second hand as per the Milgauss also contrasts very well. Proportion of the baton hands is very good, they're long enough, and the length of the lightning bolt orange second hand also is long enough. So everything about it is done very well. The proportions of the dial, the indices and also the handset are correct. So with regards to the crown, it's a solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, coin edge finished, mirror polished domed cap and embossed with the Pagani design emblem. Finished to a very high standard, so let's test the screw down crown execution. Absolutely silky smooth. Credit where credit's due, this is something that Pagani design consistently get correct on several of their models, the 1661, 1662, 1644 and also this 1733. Now, as I've stated, this is a curiosity. This uses the 1692 case, the same case as the Explorer and Air King Homages I previously reviewed. Exactly the same screw down crown and crown tube. So it's a curiosity that they've only rated it to 100 metres because those pieces are rated to 200 metres and they use the identical screw down crown. Silky smooth. In the first position, it's the manual wind position, and one can manually wind the NH35A to top it up to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. Absolute pleasure to manually wind. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. Pulling it out to the first click position is the date setting position. So the date wheel is present underneath the dial, and rotating the crown anti-clockwise, one can feel the quick set date complication clicking over. So that's something to bear in mind. Personally, I would have preferred had Pagani design used the NH38, which would have deleted the date complication and deleted the phantom date setting position. There would only be one click position on the crown. The NH35A does have the date complication and therefore a phantom date setting position. Pulling it out to the second click position is the time setting position, and as you can see, I have now hacked the movement. One can stop the second hand dead to set the time precisely to the second. Absolutely silky smooth, both clockwise and anti-clockwise, no back play clockwise and anti-clockwise. The NH35A feels like a good tight movement, and I like the feeling of the gearing. It feels very low resistance in terms of friction. Pushing it back in restarts the movement, and you can see the lightning bolt second hand begins to sweep around the dial once again. So let's test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup. This isn't far off Rolex or Tudor level in terms of the screw down crown execution. Absolutely silky smooth. It's an absolute pleasure to operate Pagani design screw down crowns. It's something they do very well consistently, and they do have quality control issues. For example, common QC issues are poor bezel execution on the 1661 and 1662, for example. But one thing they always get correct is the screw down crown execution. This is absolutely sublime. It's an absolute pleasure. So it's well finished, looks good, and also works very well. I think in reality, as this is a 1692 case, it would provide 200 metres because a screw down crown should be capable of 200 metres as per the 1692. Very strange that they rated it as 100 metres because it is the identical case. Now I'll show you a detail that I've just noticed on this 1733, and I did notice it on the 1692 Air King and Explorer Homage, but I actually didn't mention it. If you look closely underneath the crown, you'll see they've actually milled a slight recess. You can see there's a scallop which has been machined underneath the crown. If you just look at the edge of the flank of the case, you can see underneath the crown there is a slight recess, and the purpose of that is so that you can get your index fingernail underneath the crown to pull it out, and that actually works very well because it's quite difficult to grip this crown when one's unscrewed it, to actually pull it out. But by having that slight recess, the scallop underneath the case, one can engage one's fingernail underneath the crown and prise it out, lever off the flank of the case. So I'll just show it to you once again. Now, this uses the same case as the 1692, so that also has the scallop. If you look closely under the crown, you can see it has it. And this is good attention to detail because it's often something that other watch brands don't have. They don't have that scallop. You see the recess underneath the crown for the fingernail, but it actually makes pulling out the screw down crown very easy. One can get the fingernail underneath and prise it out, and it pops out very easily. So I want to give due credit to Pagani Design for that because it's very good attention to detail. Right, so let's do a lume test and we'll see how the lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it uses C3 Luminova. This clearly isn't as bright as C3 Super Luminova, but however, credit where credit's due. They have clearly applied 5 to 6 layers of Luminova rather than the cost-cutting measure of 2 to 3 layers. The colour match of the green Luminova on the baton hands and the applied indices is very good. We've got the same green tone, which is very good. Sometimes they don't get this correct. There's a slight mismatch in the colour tone. And worse still, sometimes they actually use blue lume and green lume on the hands and the indices, and that doesn't match. But the green tone on the baton hands and the applied indices matches very well. Now, it's not as bright as C3 Super Luminova, but it is glowing brighter than expected, and I think that the quality of the lume used on this 1733 is higher quality lume than used on the 1692 Air King and Explorer homages, which I previously reviewed. So I think this 1733 has better quality Luminova. Now, it's not going to continue glowing for the same length of time as C3 Luminova, and it certainly isn't as good performance as BGW9 Super Luminova, which is the very best. But it is better quality than other Luminova I've seen used on other 1692 models. So I think they deserve credit for this. Now, as you can see on the baton hands, it's beginning to fade, and the hands are fading faster. So this is the problem with the baton hands. They don't allow for a large area, a large plot of lume. So it's difficult to apply that 5 to 6 layers of lume on the baton hands. They're very slender. On the applied indices, they're deeper, so it's easier to apply 5 to 6 layers. And as you can see, the indices are glowing brighter and the lume is lasting for a longer length of time due to the additional thickness. So the applied indices are deeper and there's clearly more Luminova applied to the indices. The baton hands are fading faster. But I would describe it as okay. There is room for improvement. I think that collectors would happily pay an additional $5 to $10 for BGW9 or alternatively C3 Super Luminova. It's good that they introduced AR coating to this 1733, so the only weak spot, the only negative cost-cutting measure left really is the use of Luminova. If they upgraded this to C3 Super Luminova, it really would be a good enhancement, but the lume is okay performance. Right, so let's discuss the movement used. You will all be familiar with the Seiko NH35A Automatic. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. The NH35A Automatic is made by Seiko in 2 plants in Japan and also Malaysia respectively. Pagani Design are using the Malaysian version of the NH35A, but with regards to build quality, quality control, materials and finishing, there is no discernible difference between the Malaysian NH35As and the Japanese versions. They are identical in quality. So the 35A has 24 joules and it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which use for complications, and a 40-hour power reserve, which is perfectly acceptable. The stated accuracy is -20 to +40 seconds per day, so a rather wide accuracy range. However, I'm pleased to report that this one is very well regulated and it's running consistently at +8 seconds per day. So +8 is well within the -20 to +40 stated accuracy, and I think it's perfectly acceptable for the 35A. +8 is very good for a watch that costs €144. So no negatives to the NH35A Automatic, but however subjectively one could say, well, this would be better with a 38 because that would delete the date complication and delete the phantom date setting position as I've discussed. Personally, I think the 38 would be a better choice, but the 35A is acceptable. I like the reliability of it, I like the accuracy, and I also like the fact it has hand winding and hacking, which are useful complications. So it's a good choice and the correct choice of movement for this piece. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch for my channel, the watch should meet two criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. So really, to evaluate this piece, it's €144. One needs to study the quality of the finishing to the head of the piece and the bracelet throughout. Flawless mirror polishing to the mirror polished bezel, as you can see. Flawless mirror polishing to the flanks to the head of the piece, which contrasts with the brushed satin finishing to the tops of the lugs. No sharp edges, no burrs. The end links are a good tight fit to the case. The profile is correct, and I like the tight fit. They've done a good job of finishing the solid end links. With regards to the bracelet, yes, there is the usual play in the 1.6mm screw pins, but however, it's acceptable. The play isn't as bad as on a 1661, 1662 or 1644, which you'll be familiar with. I think they've tightened up the tolerances in the 1692 bracelet, which is the same as this 1733, sorry. So same bracelet, same head of the piece as the 1692. Quality is good. Beautiful lustre to the 316L grade stainless steel, as you can see. And the mirror polishing to the flanks is done to a high standard. No sharp edges, no burrs. So the bracelet does have some play in the links, but it doesn't rattle. And I like the use of screw pins rather than push pins. Clasp is definitely improved, as I've discussed. Better quality than the 1661, 1662 and 1644 flip lock clasp, which are the same. And the EasyLink style extension has tightened up in tolerance, so this 1733 clasp is definitely better quality than previous flip lock clasps. The solid case back is also well finished, so throughout the build quality, quality control, finishing, materials and QC is very good. I really like the screw down crown execution. So really the only negative to the watch is the weak performance of Lume Nova. If this had C3 Superlume Nova or BGW9 Superlume Nova, it would be an excellent quality and excellent value piece. But having said that, due to the introduction of the clear AR coating, I am going to declare it excellent quality and excellent value. I'm also going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money. I think this is one of the best Pagani design watches made. They have got many things about this correct. It's a very good looking piece, and I think it is worth €144. And it's just a very good looking piece. Now, the only thing I want you to bear in mind, this is 146 grams, and so it's very well balanced, and anything under 150 grams will feel very well balanced and not top heavy. So if you're a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, you'll feel this to be very comfortable at 146 grams. So I'm going to highly recommend it to you for consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Pagani design PD-1733. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.